Hello everyone, this is Jace and Tyler from Gridiron Football. I'm here with one of our interns here at Gridiron Football hosting the Player of the Week, Week 4 edition for Louisiana High School Football, and that is Tyler Barros. Tyler, glad for you to be on the show this week and to do the Player of the Week with me.
Great to be with you, Chase. Honor to be on here.
Yeah, Tyler. It's just another week. This is the 4th straight week that we've done the Gridiron Football Player of the Week, so Week 4 edition. So far, we've had 2 running backs, Week 1 and Week 2, and we had a quarterback last week in Week 3. So we'll see if we go in the same trend now, or we switch up a little bit. We have to find out. We have to see about that. But before we go into our honorable mentions and our top 20, Tyler, I know you've been posting articles for us here at Gridiron Football, and you've been covering Madison Prep. First of all, I just want to ask you about Madison Prep right now. They're just really trying to get in the rhythm of things right now because they're coming off a loss and a win. They're 2-2 right now, but anytime you can go and beat Parkway Baptist 27-6, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. So what do you think about Madison Prep coming off a win so far?
Great team. I mean, they're really young. That's the thing about them. They lost a lot of guys last year. LSU commit Quincy Wiggins. You lost a guy in Zion Chris, big quarterback. So you now have a guy in Ty stepping into the quarterback position, so it's hard for him to kind of get in that rhythm a little bit, but, it's just all about getting that experience, So I feel like as a team as a whole, they're building each and every week, trying to get better and better, and the coaching staff is doing a very well job with that team, building and getting that, trust and that relationship, that all will come out and, bring them to a successful season, hopefully.
Yeah, keep up with Tyler in terms of Madison Prep. We obviously have the coaches' corner that we do, and you've done a different assistant coach so far every week with Madison Prep. And this week, as they're trying to improve to get over that 500 mark at 3-2. This week, as it's Week 5 coming up in Louisiana High School Football, and also you've been writing articles during the week for us too. I know you're covering like a lot of New York and kind of like that northeast corner of the state. Area. Yep. So talk about some of the articles that you've done recently for Gridiron Football.
I mean, I was born and raised in Rhode Island, so not really a big football town area or whole state-wise, but. It's been great, honestly. I've just been, establishing connections and relationships with these coaches. A couple weeks ago, I contacted good counsel coach, Coach Stefanelli. I had a great conversation with him, talked about his win over Catholic.
Right.
And then, his team came down here. They talked about, came down to LSU and they visited the stadium and everything. So it was a great opportunity for them. But, overall, it's just been a great experience. I mean, I just love, going out and seeing great football every week and establishing these connections with, some of these players, that are going on to the next level in Division I and, hopefully into the NFL. You never know. So,
yeah, you never know.
It's been great. I love it so far.
Yeah, keep up with Tyler. He's doing an excellent job for us, writing stories each and every week on some of the top players in that part of the country. So make sure you go to GridirironFootballUSA.com for that. And then, obviously, after the Gridiron Football Player of the Week, we'll talk a little bit more about the bowl game coming up, too. But right now, I just want to say I want to thank all of the high school football coaches that sent in their nominee for Louisiana Gridiron Football Player of the Week. So these are all players in Louisiana. This is Week 4, and like I mentioned, all of these players that we'll talk about today have been submitted by a coach. And last week we had about 30 coaches submit Player of the Week nominees. This week it's a little bit more. We got about 40. So it's getting pretty popular. So the numbers have increased. And we want to mention everybody. So that's what we do. I know coaches took time of your day when you didn't need to in order to fill this out. So in order for that, we're actually going to pay it forward, and we're going to mention everybody at least as an honorable mention. Then we'll get into our top 20, and then we'll go and talk about obviously the Gridiron Football Player of the Week. And we're going to go with the honorable mentions first, and then we'll go into your countdown, which will get us started. But here's just some honorable mentions. So these are the guys that had good performances that were submitted by the coaches, but they were not in the top 20. But they're definitely deserving of being on this list as an honorable mention. So we're going to get started with Slaughter Charter running back Marion Happy Perry. had 19 carries for 162 yards and a touchdown. And also, interesting enough, you don't see this stat every day, but 4 2-point conversions he made. So, yeah, you don't really see that stat line every single week.
It's a little something different.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a little something different. Next up, we have a collegiate high school. They're a really new program in Baton Rouge. Their defensive tackle, Calvin Batley, had 6 tackles, 2 sacks. So that was his stat line. North DeSoto wide receiver Cole Corey had 4 catches for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. Destrehan running back Shane Lee, he is a load to bring down for the Wildcats. 15 carries for 124 yards and a touchdown for Shane Lee. Westgate quarterback Amaz Eugene. Westgate, the defending Class 4A state champions. And their quarterback had a good performance in a win against St. Martinville. He only threw 7 passes, 5 of 7 for 50 yards and a touchdown, but also had 10 carries for 180 yards and another touchdown. So 2 touchdowns, 230 yards of offense for Amaz Eugene. Catholic Point Capee quarterback Connor Ashe had 5 carries for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. Run the option for the Hornets. And then also he plays both sides of the football. Okay. So he had 6 tackles, 1 interception on defense. So 2 touchdowns on offense.
A little bit of everything.
We'll do a little bit of everything, especially when you're 1A. The coaches need you to play both ways, even the quarterbacks.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do.
Yep, exactly. Port Barry running back Keenan Hardy had 17 carries for 130 yards. Evansville Christian quarterback Rodrigo Balestro completed 13 of 16 passes for 204 yards and 4 touchdowns. Como wide receiver Jalen Domingo had 6 carries for 71 yards, had 2 rushing touchdowns, had a passing touchdown, and then a catch for 9 yards. So he did a little bit of everything for Coach Eric Holden.
Too. Yeah.
Yep. So it's crazy to consider that these were guys that did not make the top 20.
Yeah,
But we had so many.
mention.
These are just the honorable mentions. McDonald 35 quarterback Santana Price had 202 yards and 4 touchdowns. So impressive stat line for the Ron Eagles quarterback. West Feliciana running back Jatarius Johnson. Listen to this, Tyler. Had 6 carries in the football game for 124 yards and 5 touchdowns on 6 carries.
Pretty much every carry he had, he was
pretty much
into the end zone.
Pretty much.
It was a good game.
Yeah. Karen Crow wide receiver Chance Babineau, 4 catches for 131 yards and a touchdown. Averaged roughly about 30 yards per catch. Had 4 tackles and 2 PBUs on defense. So pretty complete game for Chance Babineau for Karen Crow. Scotlandville quarterback Zay T-Set, who's definitely a familiar name in the area, in Baton Rouge area. 15 for 25. Threw over 300 yards, 317 yards, and a touchdown. Had 8 carries for 51 yards going up on the road against West Monroe. Even though they fell just short, still a good effort for Zay T-Set. Pope John Paul, running back Blaze Rodriguez. That's a good name for a running back, Blaze. Had 27 carries for 214 yards, 3 touchdowns, had 2 catches for 45 yards. And like we mentioned earlier, for a defensive player, we have another defensive player for Kaplan. Defensive end Remy Broussar, 2 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, and 9 total tackles in that game. He definitely was a disruptor on defense. All over the field. Beekman Charter running back Devon Gajewski, 13 carries for 147 yards and 3 touchdowns, averaged about 11 yards per carry. Cecilia running back Reg Collins, 6 carries for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns on only 6 carries. So a pretty good average.
One with 6 carries.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you got to make the most of it of the carries, and they do. Lincoln Prep wide receiver Brandon Hurd, 9 catches for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, 3 solo tackles and 1 assist tackle. And then we have a couple more names to go for our honorable mentions. I have to give a shout out to this because I call his game, so I have to give a shout out to that performance. Episcopal running back Reed Chauvin, 171 yards and 3 touchdowns, and the Knights win over the Port Allen Pelicans. I just saw this last second, so if we actually reconstructed the list, he probably would be in the top 20.
Yeah.
But Catholic High running back Barry Remo, 296 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns.
Oh,
This
wow.
is definitely a top 20 performance.
Oh,
But since I saw this one late, that's just the reason why he's an honorable mention. But he definitely was a top 20
for sure.
for his performance. And speaking of another guy that probably could have been in the top 20, Archbishop Shaw running back David Kinsey. David Kinsey is actually one of the fastest players in his area,
Okay.
and it showed 7 carries for 206 yards and 3 touchdowns, had a 50-yard touchdown run, a 44-yard touchdown run, and a 79-yard touchdown run. And he didn't play the entire game, obviously, because of the quick touchdowns he had. Put Shaw in a good position in their win against Bonneville. Union Parish defensive back DeAntoine Hopkins, 2 interceptions, including a pick 6 for Union Parish. And then St. Michael running back John Martinez had 170 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. And our last honorable mention, Archbishop Hannon running back Josh Alonzo, 18 carries for 196 yards and 2 touchdowns, and also a catch for 20 yards. So those are your honorable mentions for Gridiron Football Week 4. Those are some outstanding performances, Tyler.
No kidding.
And it's crazy that they didn't even make the top 20.
Yeah, going back to, like you said, the Catholic game, that running back, I mean, 296 yards, just a game, like, those are video game numbers right there. Like, some of these guys are just putting up a whole, some type of season for some of these kids, in a game. It's crazy like that, but.
Yeah, and that's my explanation for Catholic, because I just saw that last second. We actually came up with the list, like, at the beginning of the day, so that's why he's outside the top 20. That's the only reason why.
Yeah.
But speaking of the top 20, Tyler, we want to count it down. So who is number 20 on Week 4 Gridiron Football Louisiana top 20 players?
At number 20, we have Marcus Clark, running back Kenner Discovered.
So Marcus Clark had 13 carries for 201 yards and 3 touchdowns on offense. And like I said, like a lot of smaller schools, you play both ways.
Yeah.
So he played defense too, had 8 tackles too. So 200 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns, 8 tackles, and was a difference when of Kenner Discovery, the Swamp Owls getting a win over Patrick Taylor. So Marcus Clark for Kenner Discovery is number 20. So who's number 19, Tyler?
At number 19, we have Kobe Jones, defensive end Terrebonne.
We're going to give up to the defensive guys. It's not just the offensive guys.
You guys should go with the defensive
Yeah, right. So, especially at defensive end for Kobe Jones, he had 5 tackles, 3 assists, 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble in a 22-17 win over HL Bourgeois. So he was pretty much unblockable all night long.
Yeah, he was doing it all. I mean, 5 tackles, the 3 tackles for loss, the forced fumble, doing everything.
2 sacks. I mean, he was a menace for sure in the backfield against HL Bourgeois. Who's number 18, Tyler?
At number 18, we have Edward Mckinnis, quarterback Sophie B. Wright.
Edward Mckinnis is a dual threat based off his numbers. If you see 16 out of 25 for 235 yards and 3 touchdowns. Also ran the ball 12 times for 152 yards and another touchdown. So talk about a 4 touchdown performance. Add in about precisely 387 yards of offense and a 36-8 win over Higgins. And Sophie B. Wright, very quietly, is an undefeated football team right now at 4-0. Okay. So, and a lot of it has to do with Edward Mckinnis at quarterback.
We're looking forward to seeing them for the rest of the season.
Oh, yeah. Keep an eye on Sophie B. Wright this year.
Sure.
Yep.
And then at number 17, we have Royal Williams, wide receiver, Ellender High School.
Talk about taking advantage and getting the most of opportunities. Royal Williams only touched the football 5 times, but 3 of them went for touchdowns.
Okay.
He had 1 carry for 65 yards and a touchdown. Had 4 catches for 148 yards and 2 touchdowns. So 3 touchdowns off of 5 touches of the football, and over 200 yards of offense, and a 52-7 win over Morgan City. And I believe that was their first victory of the season. So and Royal Williams came in with a big performance when
Definitely
they needed the
helped
most.
them out on that one for sure.
Yep.
And then at number 16, we have Harlem Berry, running back, St. Martin's Episcopal.
Well, if you're an LSU football fan, if you're a big recruiting fan, keep an eye on St. Martin's Episcopal running back Harlem Berry. Only a sophomore.
Alrighty.
LSU already offered him, and for good reason why,
Yeah,
what he
good.
can do. He had 9 carries in the football game, and when you have a guy like that, you make sure, okay, once we're ahead, make sure we take him out
Yeah.
because we're going to need him for the whole
that.
season. 9 carries, 138 yards, and
Okay.
4 touchdowns off of 9 carries in a 47-6 win over Cy Academy. And St. Martin's Episcopal is another team that's flying under the radar right now as an undefeated football team.
Oh, that's good for them, man. Definitely looking forward to seeing them for the rest of the season.
Yeah, keep an eye on Harlem Berry. LSU's already offered him already.
I
So
mean, and he's got 2 more years, so
yeah, he's only a sophomore.
We'll see him for sure. Number 15, we have Glenn Cage, running back, Central High School.
Yeah, senior running back for the Wildcats. It was a bounce back performance for them after losing last week, the week prior. But their senior running back was the bell cow for them. 19 carries for 211 yards and 4 touchdowns. Had 1 catch for 58 yards and a 51-21 win over East Jefferson. So big performance for Glenn Cage. Gets a 5A school, 4 touchdowns, over 200 yards rushing.
Big win. And at number 14, we have Jaden Voisin, running back, Bell Chase.
You can make an argument that Jaden could be probably even higher on this list of what he did this past week. 31 carries for 327 yards.
He was working with this week.
And 4 touchdowns. A workhorse indeed. And a 35-30 win. They played a good football team against Salmon. This is a playoff team a year ago in the 4A level. And right now, Bell Chase, this is a team that nobody really gives much praise and credit to as much as they really should be for Coach Myers. They're 4-0 right now, and they've made the playoffs, I believe, the last 4 or 5 years in a row. So impressive. Jaden Voisin, running back for Bell Chase, is at number 14.
All right. And at number 13, we have safety Cam Reed, Scotlandville.
Another Scotlandville player
Yeah.
made this list.
Okay.
Second Hornet. This time from the defensive side of the football. 11 tackles, 2 assisted tackles, so he had 9 solo tackles through the game, which is a lot for a safety. 1 tackle for loss and a fumble recovery, return for 65 yards and a touchdown.
That's
So
a big one right there.
yeah, I think that put the icing on the cake as far as him being number 13 on our list. And a big effort. I mean, it did come in a loss, but they went on the road up north against West Monroe and put up a great fight, 31-28. They fell just short, but efforts of, we were talking about Cam Reed and Zay T-Set, efforts like that helped them make it a really good football game.
Yeah, I've seen the Scotlandville team before. They played Madison early this season. Great quarterbacks, Zay T-Set, but they also have a great defense. Speaking like safety Cam Reed, they just make really good plays. They're fast, they're electric. They just bring that energy, but. Great performance definitely for Cam Reed. Definitely looking to see him for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I know that unfortunately Madison Prep won the wrong end of that one.
Yeah, that was a tough game for them, but they bounced back this week and ready for the rest of the season. So we'll see.
Well, Will Lampier actually covers a lot for Scotlandville, so he's Scotlandville's main guy. So both sides for Gridiron Football were involved for that game. Let's move on to number 12. We're going back to the most flashy position of them all, the quarterback position.
The quarterback position, number 12, we have Preston Welch, Terry Lane's Catholic.
This is a name that's flying really under the radar as far as quarterbacks. Now, we know about how deep the quarterback room is this year with guys like Arch Manning, Ricky Collins, and we've mentioned all these guys. Actually, last week, a sophomore quarterback was their top player. He's a sophomore, and he's going to be really good for Oak Grove. This is a junior that's really good, too, that you need to keep an eye on. Terry's Catholic quarterback, Preston Welsh. He's a junior. Completed 13 of 18 passes for 356 yards and 4 touchdowns. And they did it against Notre Dame. I mean, not the Fighting Irish, but the Pios in Crowley. And anytime you can throw 358 yards and 4 touchdowns against a program like Notre Dame led by a Hall of Fame coach and Louis Cook, that's saying a lot. That's a big performance for Preston Welsh, and that's why he's just outside our top 10. And speaking of just outside the top 10, who was our number 11 spot?
Last one. Number 11, P.J. Martin, running back, De La Salle High School.
De La Salle running back P.J. Martin. We all know De La Salle loves to run the football. They have a big offensive line. They got really good running backs. In fact, the running back at Florida right now, Montrell Johnson, was a running back at De La Salle, but he's running the football for the Florida Gators right now. We always know that De La Salle can run the football. P.J. Martin's another senior, tough running back to bring down. 36 carries for 283 yards and 3 touchdowns. Had 3 kickoff returns for 34 yards, which you add that total, that's 39 touches for 317 yards against St. Charles Catholic, which is the defending state champion when he ran for almost 300 yards against. That makes it even more impressive considering that they ran against one of the most disciplined teams out there in the state in St. Charles Catholic.
It's definitely a big game right there, especially going against a defense like that,
Yeah.
Especially, you calling in a guy for big games like that, Those are the guys you definitely look out and you say, we need you this game, you need to turn around, you need to do something big, show us.
Yeah, he was the workhorse.
He was the workhorse. I mean, you touch the ball, 30-something times a game, You're doing it all. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're running, catching, doing whatever. You're doing it all for the team. So it's a big win, big game for him.
Yeah, De La Salle is now 4-0 after that 27-14 win over St. Charles Catholic. Now we go inside our top 10 performers.
All right, to the top 10. At number 10, we have Joseph Riley, quarterback, MLK, Martin Luther King High School.
Yeah, Martin Luther King quarterback. Joseph Riley is actually the son of the head coach, Joseph Riley Sr.
Oh, really?
So, yeah,
right.
So we have to put him in our top 10 because of what he did in a shutout win over McMain. Counted for 5 touchdowns, over 300 yards of offense, and he led an offense to put 50 points on the scoreboard. Yeah. So Joseph Riley is number 10 after a big performance from Martin Luther King to get the victory.
Definitely. And at number 9, we have Tyler Cooper, wide receiver, Eunice.
Familiar name on this list. He was actually on this list, I believe, week 1. He was one of our top performers then, and he's, again, another top performer now, doing it again. So showing that it was not a fluke the first time around. 9 catches for 128 yards and 1 touchdown. Also a carry for 29 yards, and then had 2 interceptions for 148 return yards, including 1 return for a touchdown for 85 yards. All of that accounting for roughly on offense and defense, probably about 200-something yards and 2 touchdowns, 1 on offense, 1 on defense, 2 interceptions, and a 44-20 win over Northwest. I'm going to try to see if I can actually catch my breath after saying this down.
You can't ask a guy to do more than that, man. When you do it all on the defense, the offense, what more can you ask out of a guy, There's nothing more you can really ask him to do. You go out there and did what he needed to do and got the win.
And it's crazy. We got 8 people in front of that.
Yeah. That was only number 9. We still got 8 more, so we're ready. At number 8, we have Adam Parker, quarterback, St. Mary's High School.
Senior quarterback for St. Mary's, a great athlete for the Tigers at St. Mary's up in Natchitoches. Only 13 passes, but completed 9 of them for 210 yards and 1 touchdown. Here's the kicker. He also had 13 carries for 107 yards and 5 more touchdowns, which means he had 6 touchdowns and a 42. Count for all the points, all the touchdowns for St. Mary's in the 42-14 win over the Kinsey. So
that's a dual threat quarterback right there. I mean, 4 touchdowns rushing, 1 in the air,
Yeah, 6 touchdowns. Wow. And then you count for all the touchdowns for the team. So, you have to put him in a top 10 performance like that.
And at number 7, we have Barrett Newman, linebacker, Parkway.
Another guy that played both ways, and it's even more impressive he's doing it at the 5A level. That's something you see that at a 2A, 1A, but you don't really see that a lot in 5A, which he did. 19 tackles. Was all over the field. Like every play, they named his name. 19 tackles and a sack. Had 5 carries for 45 yards and a touchdown, and moved the chains on 3 of those 5 carries. So he impacted the game on both sides of the football for Parkway.
Big game.
So that is number 7. We go into number 6.
Number 6, we have Jackson Wiggins, running back, Delcombe.
Yeah, Delcombe is another for Jackson Wiggins. Even a bigger performance. 19 carries for 317 yards and 4 touchdowns in a 42-12 victory over Lake Arthur. Delcombe's now 3-1 on the season, and I think a lot of it has to do with Jackson Wiggins with a couple back-to-back standout performances. 317 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns.
That's crazy, man. You can put 300 rushing just in one game alone, Yeah, that's crazy, Some people...
19 carries, too. It wasn't like he carried the football 50 times.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a lot. Sometimes you see that's 30-something carries. But
right.
19 for 300 yards,
wow.
It's insane.
Yeah, 4 touchdowns off those 19 carries. And we will kick off the top 5 with a very familiar name in Louisiana.
Yeah, big name. We got number 5, Trey Holly, running back, Union Parish.
So, I think there was some kind of record entering that week.
Yeah, he might have broke a record.
Yeah, I think he might have broke a record this past week. Yeah, if y'all don't know, Trey Holly's a Union Parish running back. He is committed to LSU right now, a senior running back. And he's been playing since probably the beginning of time for Union Parish. Since his 8th grade year. I actually saw him play when he was playing at in a semifinal game against St. James. So I saw him as an 8th grader. So this past Friday, he needed about 247 yards to beat the all-time Louisiana High School Football rushing record to be the Louisiana King. And he did. He had 250 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns, setting the record, which breaks Nick Brissett, who played running back at U High and at LSU. He had the all-time leading rushing record in Louisiana High School Football. Trey Holly just beat the record. Now he has over 8,704 yards rushing in his career. Absolutely insane. And also, of course, in dramatic fashion, he beat the record on a touchdown run.
Oh, that's awesome.
that puts the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
62-12 win against Bishop. We'll actually try to set up an interview over Zoom for the Chase with Jay show with Trey Holly to get his thoughts on that big-time performance.
Yeah.
But what a performance it was in a 62-12 win, and a historic performance, to say the least, for the star running back for Union Parish, and as he cements himself as one of the greatest running backs, if not the greatest at all time, Louisiana High School football.
Yeah, when you set a record like that, you establish yourself as a household name, and definitely a name in Louisiana High School football for sure.
Future LSU Tiger,
Yes,
Trey Holly.
I can't wait to see him in Tiger Stadium on Saturdays. That's going to be a big one.
Oh, it certainly is, and he's the rushing football king in Louisiana. It's crazy. We got 4 more ahead of that.
That was just number 5. We still got 4 more, so we'll get into it. At number 4, we have Ben Taylor, quarterback, Airline High School.
Only a sophomore.
Yeah.
Sophomore quarterback for Airline. 26 of 37 for 412 yards and 7 touchdown passes.
Whoa.
And guess how many points they put on the scoreboard against Benton? I think the scoreboard just stopped working at some point because when it's 75-59,
wow.
that was the final score when Airline defeated Benton. And he was the quarterback that helped them put 75 points on the scoreboard when you throw for 7 touchdowns. So a performance like that is going to have to top. That's the only type of performance that can top Trey Holly.
That's an offense battle right there. It's like when you said that score, I was thinking, like a college basketball.
You're right. That's a college basketball score.
No, it really is. But that's an amazing game. You like to see, especially if you're an offensive guy. You definitely love to see those games. The guys just airing the ball out. Run game is dominant. You can't do nothing about it. Just stop it. But that's an awesome game. Especially to win like that, 75-59.
Well, very huge. And Tyler, just want to say, these top 3 performers, we all had the debate for being number 1.
Oh, wow.
So any of these 3 guys, we could have easily seen be number 1 on this week's list.
All right.
So we're going inside the top 3. Who made the top 3? Tyler, start us off.
At number 3, we have Jalen Williams, running back, Mangum High School.
Yeah, Mangum High School. Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. Mangum High School up in North Louisiana. The Dragons is what they called their mascot. And it was a blaze of a performance for Jalen Williams. 18 carries for 285 yards, 5 touchdowns. I'm not done yet. 2 catches for 95 yards and another touchdown. And then you have a 73-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. So if you do the math, so if you add it all together, so that's 285 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns, 2 catches for 95 yards and a touchdown, a 73-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. That is 453 yards and 7 touchdowns in one game.
That's another guy.
And it's not a quarterback, it's a running back scoring 7 touchdowns in one game. Offense scored 60 points on the board. And you said, okay, they probably didn't play anybody that good. Well, they did. They played General Trask that had back-to-back quarterfinal appearances in the playoffs. So, yeah, like it's a really good competition. Yeah. Jalen Williams, wow, what a performance.
Big game. I mean, 7 touchdowns just in one game, you know. Some guys don't even put that in the season. So just do that in one game, you know. That's crazy.
Somebody doesn't, there's a lot of people that don't put up 453 yards and 7 touchdowns in a season, much less one game. Incredible video game numbers.
Yep.
And number 2 and number 1, I'm going to just spoil it for you as far as what position is going to be this week. We had, let's see, so far 2 running backs. One of them's a freshman from St. Edmund. Another one is a junior from Ouachita. We had a quarterback last week that's a sophomore from Oak Grove. Now we have a wide receiver.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say who it is, but we have 2 wide receivers at number 1 and number 2. Yep. So who is at number 2?
At number 2, we got another airline guy. Number 2, Daxon Chavez, wide receiver.
Well, when your offense puts up 75 points, we're going to have more than one person for that team.
Someone else is out there doing something, you know?
Well, 5 of those 7 touchdown passes went to Daxon Chavez.
Oh, wow.
He had 9 catches for 233 yards and 5 touchdowns in the 75-59 win over Benton. Daxon Chavez is a senior. He's been offered by Centenary College. And the thing about receivers, you only can really feed off how many times they throw it to you. Yeah. So we better take advantage of it.
And he took advantage
of it.
Of every one of them.
Wow. 5 touchdown catches.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's an awesome game.
233 yards, 9 catches. Wow. Unbelievable. Talk about a quarterback receiver being on the same page right there.
Yeah, they were on it all game, all night.
So 2 airline players were in our top 4. Amazing. So this is week 4. Week 4, we had, like I said, 2 running backs, 1 quarterback. We have a receiver. Now it's been mostly underclassmen. It's a senior.
Alrighty.
And it's not like this no-name guy at number 1. It's a huge name in Louisiana. So, Tyler, who is our Gridiron Football Week 4, which is voted by we're bringing all these answers by the coaches coming in here. Who is our Gridiron Football Week 4 Louisiana Player of the Week?
All right, at number 1, we have Omarion Miller, wide receiver at North Caddo.
North Caddo wide receiver Omarion Miller is our number 1 player for Week 4 Gridiron Football Player of the Week in Louisiana. Why, you ask? Well, not only the fact he's committed to Nebraska right now, and Mickey Joseph, who is actually intern head coach in Nebraska, had a good relationship. He was at LSU as a receivers coach. So we'll see if he stays committed to Nebraska. But there's no doubt what he does on the football field. 7 catches for 243 yards and 3 touchdowns. Actually had more yardage than Chavez did on 2 less catches. So he had 7 catches, 243 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He also had a 98-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. So let's see. 4 touchdowns and let's just say close to 400 yards of offense by himself, and accounted for all of the team's points in the game, all the touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, and they played Neville High School, which is a powerhouse in Louisiana high school football. 50-24. They lost the football game, but Omarion Miller did put on the show from the fans watching that football game. 4 touchdowns, over 300 yards of offense, close to 400 yards of offense, and he only touched the football probably about 8 times the whole game.
Yeah.
So that is insane. Omarion Miller, congratulations, Omarion. I know that's just one of the many accomplishments you've had so far of your high school career, but here's another one as you're a week 4 in the whole state of Louisiana, Gridiron Football Player of the Week. Tyler, what do you think about this list overall?
I mean, there were some numbers. I mean, some of these numbers, we were talking video game numbers, you know. But definitely cool to see a wide receiver get some attention. You know, like you said earlier, you know, 2 running backs, you have 1 quarterback, you know. It's always nice to get that wide receiver, you know, kind of mentioned because, you know, those are the guys that, you know, they do it all a lot, you know. The toe tapping, you know, going up, making the big plays, you know. You have to give love to wide receivers sometimes. So
Oh, yeah.
that was nice to see, you know, a guy like that.
Yeah, we spread the wealth here, Gridiron Football, with a couple of running backs. We do include the quarterback. We have a receiver. So Omarion Miller, we may or may not. We're trying to work it out. But we may have an interview with Omarion and Coach Kavanaugh because we'll try to do an interview with the Player of the Week. Mm-hmm. We did that with Cordell Sermons when he won the Player of the Week 2 weeks ago. So we may bring that back for the Chase with Jace. So this should be a loaded show this week for Chase with Jace, which will be on Wednesday. Tyler, wow. Omarion Miller, number 1 for Louisiana Gridiron Football Player of the Week. Coaches, thank y'all so much for sending in your nominee. We really do appreciate it. And like I mentioned, we know you take time in your day to do this, so we're going to make sure your player is mentioned, whether it's in the top 20, top 10, top 5. He will at least be an honorable mention if you send in your Player of the Week. We'll make sure to mention everybody, and we do. So, yeah, we appreciate it. 40 coaches send in a Player of the Week nomination. We obviously really appreciate it, and then we encourage you to continue to do so. You'll receive an email from me and a text message from me with the Gridiron Football Player of the Week nomination form. So we're getting into district play week 5. So we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of the football season. So we're right in the thick of it, right in the middle of things. I'm excited to see some high school football coming up as we are in the middle of the season. It's crazy that we're entering district play and it's already week 5.
We're already started the first week of October. It's crazy, you know. There's going to be some good football coming up for sure, you know, with this district play. Can't wait to see some of these games for sure. Speaking
of good football, our Gridiron Football Bowl game is going to be at the end of December. Mm-hmm. December 30th is the actual game. Once again, the game will be in Orange Beach, Alabama. Right now, we have 2 commits to the bowl game so far, and we're going to start to get more and more as we rack up. Mm-hmm. But players, if you received a notification, that means you received an invite to the Gridiron Football All-American game because they're going to be posting round 2 of invites later this week. And I would highly encourage it. If you want to play in the football game, like we mentioned, it was like 92%.
Yeah, 92%, you know, get a college offer from this game, you know, at least one. You know, it's honestly a great experience, you know. It's not only just about, you know, getting one more opportunity to, you know, just play a game, but also, you know, this experience, you know. There's going to be a couple former NFL coaches, NFL players, college players, you know, there to kind of tell their story, kind of, and, you know, say their part, and, you know, give their story kind of to the kids. So, you know, it's a great opportunity and great experience, you know, to be a part of it, you know. So, it'll be definitely a great weekend for all the kids and especially the coaches, too.
Well, not to mention, everybody gets to play against the best of the best around the country. Mm-hmm. So we've seen a lot of the best players in the country have been invited to play in the bowl game, and we're looking forward to having that December 30th. If you're a player that gets invited to this game, I strongly encourage for you to accept and play in the football game because we're taking first come, first serve. So we're inviting a whole lot of players, but you might not get guaranteed a spot if you don't sign up for it right now. So if you get a notification, DM us on Twitter, just saying, "Hey, I'm committed to playing the bowl game. I want to play more in the bowl game, or want to get more information about the bowl game." Just send us a DM with a message, and we'll send you an email with all the information you need to know in regards to the bowl game and how to get involved with it and how to play in the bowl game. So if you get notified from us on Twitter that you're invited to play in the bowl game, I would highly recommend to jump on that opportunity and do not wait. So DM us on Twitter again if you receive an invite, and we'll email you everything you need to know in regards to how to play in this year's Gridiron Football All-American Bowl game. So that's everything I got to say in regards to that. Tyler, you have anything that planned going on this week for Gridiron Football? Anything you're planning on doing this week? I know Massive Prep playing this week, covering that. Obviously, you still got Down in the Roughs that you do throughout the week. And like we said, that Northeast corner of the United States. And just preview everything what may come up this week for you.
Definitely going to be going to the game this weekend for Massive Prep. We got a game against, I think it's Friendship Mentor Academy. I think it's a away game as well. But, just looking forward to that game. I know we'll be doing some Diamond in the Roughs on a couple more players. One of my, my high school head coach, I actually did a school spotlight in them, so I've been reaching out to them, trying to get some of those guys, that just, it's Rhode Island football, up there, it's just not I wouldn't say a big thing, but college football, isn't like what it is down here, down south. I mean, it's a culture, it's different, I just don't know how to explain it, but, I want to give attention to definitely those guys up there in the Northeast area, they just don't get that attention like, you do down here because you have so many different schools and all that, so definitely be doing that. And then I'll be reaching out to a couple schools, actually, a couple schools in New Jersey, and then a couple New York schools, so see if we hear back from them. I think St. Aramis in New York, he's looking to hear from the head coach from there, and we'll see if we go from there.
Yeah, we'll see. And one more thing about the bowl game, we got obviously these are high school seniors, but we have a new wrinkle in it too, is that we'll actually invite a lot of kids to the junior high game, which you'll be promoting a lot too.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that.
Oh yeah, so I mean, I know it's the first year Gridiron Football will be doing the Junior All-American Bowl game. It's a chance for any 7th and 8th grader, from anywhere across the country, to get an opportunity, to obviously play in this game, but also to see some of these high school guys, to kind of get that experience of what's the expectations like, in the oncoming future of high school football, but also what the kind of expectations are. You kind of get that experience of practice. What it's like at that level. The 7-on-7. I know a lot of kids do that nowadays, but trying to actually get in at that level and seeing some of these kids, seeing these high school guys play. It's a once in a lifetime experience. Obviously for all these high school kids, but also for the middle school game as well. You never get this chance again, so might as well take advantage of it, and definitely look forward to it. Be looking for any 7th and 8th graders for that.
Well, it's just kind of like the Players of the Week is like you earn your way onto this list with your play. Well, it's kind of like you earn your way onto the show with how you'll be able to conduct your work. And Tyler, you've done an excellent job for us so far with the articles and going to games and covering everything for us. Keep up the good work. And like we had Will on a couple weeks ago, we have you now. So, this is kind of like also a little extra motivation for the interns too. So if we see you working out there and doing a good job, you're going to be on the shows with us. So that's a little bit extra motivation too. So Tyler, always a pleasure. Thank you for joining me today on Week 4's Gridiron Football Player of the Week. And now we have more in store for you. And make sure, I believe Thursday, Friday, around that time, coaches, you'll get at the latest Saturday, but you'll get a notification from me how to send your Player of the Week for Week 5 coming up. The deadline to send in your nomination is on Sunday at 6:00 p.m. If you have a standout player, make sure to include him, and we'll mention him and promote him even more throughout the state of Louisiana. For Tyler Barros, I'm Jace and Tyler from Gridiron Football, saying so long. We'll see you later. Make sure to tune in to the Chase with Jace on Gridiron Football's YouTube channel and Facebook page. But until then, for Tyler Barros again, I'm Jace LeJeune saying so long. We'll see you next week for Week 5, Gridiron Football Player of the Week. Congratulations to Omarion Miller for being our Player of the Week for Week 4.
Congratulations, Omarion.
See y'all later.